Hello and welcome back to another episode of OverSoul Overland. And today, we're going on a special trip back to the past. A place where it started for me. A place just close enough to Catoosa Wildlife Management Area to be on some folks' radar. That's right, we're talking about the legendary Nemo's Tunnel here in Wartburg, Tennessee. So hang on tight and enjoy the ride. And you're in for a very special treat today. So, as always, let's see where this trail takes us. Without further ado, let's get this thing started. Now, just remember, this is my first off-road, so I didn't air down my tires, so you're about to see some choppy terrain. But the beautiful thing about the Hummer is this thing is fully capable of handling this without any additional modifications. So, not knowing how to shift down, we just jumped right in. And we just prepared to see what the truck was willing to do in such a beautiful, pristine environment. Now on our visit, it was winter, and the rain and the cold kept the air brisk. So the trees just seemed to vibrantly dance along the horizon. And as always, it was hard to keep our eyes on the road, because the beauty of the land is something to behold. So as we mosey on down this trail, you're going to get to really appreciate the rich, diverse wildlife and natural plant life of the area. And with it being winter, it was our wet season, so we had a ton of rain. And that is important to remember for what's coming up ahead. Not only were there puddles with unknown depths, ruts and runoffs, beautiful rock formations that just appeared out of nowhere. We were going downhill, so we chased the raindrops down the mountain, and you're gonna see where they all gathered. So, take in this rich natural landscape with me as we crawl through another beautiful place here in East Tennessee. Here's something noteworthy. As you can see, I still was very much avoiding almost every rut and major obstacle of unknown depth. Like any proud Hummer owner, I was babying my truck maybe a little too much here. So if you're like, why is he dodging everything? It's because I watched way too many YouTube videos before doing this, about folks getting stuck in the most embarrassing situations. So we had to make sure that wouldn't happen here on OverSoul Overland. There's always that moment when you get a little bit excited, where you begin to think, my goodness, God created all of this, and He's going to create it all again in a new way. That moment of sheer delight and wonder, that allure of all of this wilderness to see the vastness of creation, and the beauty of the Creator that surely crafted every tree, every grass, and saw how the mountains would collect the water. It's amazing to feel so small, such a big and beautiful broken world. So here on OverSoul, we overland, we off-road, and we appreciate the things for what they are. Just a place we're passing through. There'll be hard times, there'll be many unknowns, but each place has a rich history, a lesson to be learned, a skill to be fostered, a place that we will hold in our hearts until that day when our testimony will be made gloriously known. So for now, I'd like to tell you a little bit about this region. Here we're coming up on the active railroad track. Nemo's tunnel was, of course, an old train tunnel, but they ran into issues due to water drainage, and so they built it a little higher up. But they left the old tunnel open to the public. And naturally, here in East Tennessee, that means some spunky guys with some big trucks decided to make it a nice place to off-road. If you look at the sheerness of this rock face, it puts it all in perspective. It's the active tunnel, but any moment now you're gonna see a truly unique sight. A place that you might not be able to find elsewhere. So join me in appreciating the unique fun that we have here in East Tennessee. This moment, you can't help but stop and look at the beauty of the ice cascading down the rock face, the small trickling streams that flow through the moss as we enter into a new darkness, a new unknown. really beautiful thing here is that the light reflects off the water, but the scary part is we didn't know how deep it would be. So here we go again, into a unique challenge, probably a little too unprepared. But, as always, when you go somewhere seeking something new and beautiful, you always say a little bit of a prayer right before you go in. And that's exactly what we did. And fortunately enough for us, the truck was lifted just enough to where we didn't have any type of water problems, even though it was a pretty rainy time and the water level was fairly high. For those of you unsure if this ride is for you, I would encourage you to go multiple times with a friend. Don't be quite so reckless like we were. Our truck was pretty lifted, probably overly capable, and we had a pretty good idea that even if we got stuck, we'd get out. Now fortunately, this is a very popular trail, so if you do manage to get stuck, it won't be long before someone comes along and realizes what's happened and tries to help you. After all, you're in the volunteer state. If you're like me at about this point, you're thinking, my goodness, this is a long tunnel. And at about that point, when you're almost ready to freak out, you see this gorgeous view coming around the bend. It's like a doorway chiseled into the light above, refracting off of the beautiful water that has somehow managed to seep its way down this great tunnel. As we're getting closer to the end, I will warn you, it does get deep right here. So if you haven't had problems yet, you may have them right here on this side. But as we adjust back to the normal lighting, you'll see that this drive was definitely worth it. Check out our amazing scenery on the left here. As it comes, you can't make this stuff up. Just look at this ridge. Water, the rock, the moss. It's the most perfect composition. And it's much better in person. So as always, I encourage you to get out there and find that getaway place where you can focus on the Word of God and the beauty of the things He's left us to live through and enjoy together. Thank you for traveling back with me in time to one of our first adventures. It was definitely a delight. And we look forward to exploring more of East Tennessee's beauty, and hopefully, if we're in a position to do so, record it and share it with you. So again, we thank you.
this has been the first off-road. Gone through Nemo's tunnel, which is down that way. And there's all this beautiful ice.